Greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, Robert Meyer Burnett, and I invite you to watch and listen to the Designing Hollywood podcast, brought to you by Martika Ibarra and the great, legendary Hollywood costume designer, Marilyn Vance. I am afforded the wonderful opportunity of co-hosting the show. If you are interested in the magic of Hollywood, the design of Hollywood, the clothes of Hollywood, watch the Designing Hollywood podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts from, or find the video version on YouTube. That's right, the Designing Hollywood podcast. Why would you ever want to miss it, especially if you love the movies?
I had a dream.
Hashem told you to dance in a tango contest?
A dancing teacher wants to tango with you?
Critics are raving about Tango Shalom. It's clever and inventive, with right chemistry on and off the dance floor.
You're a lunatic!
A funny and thoughtful family film with a warm heart and a playful spirit. From the director of My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Oh, there's my Fernando.
Tango Shalom. In select theaters now.
Robservations with Robert Meyer Burnett.
Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your master of fun and wonder, your viceroy of verisimilitude, your evangelist of the imagination, and of course, your yet undefined existential Mr. Rogers. Who? Me, Robert Meyer Burnett, and I am robcasting it. You members of this, the Post-Geek Singularity. This is Robservations, episode number 754. Robservations is, of course, the show about something. Oh, boy. Okay. I have to say, to be honest, I'm always honest with you all. It's part of my brand. I shoot from the hip. And I have been flummoxed. I love that word, flummoxed. Whoever uses that word in conversation. I was flummoxed, but I love the word flummoxed. Kind of like gobsmacked. By the reviews of Marvel's The Eternals. Now, let's deal with the elephant in the room. I am constantly accused of being a Marvel shill. As if, here's the thing. Let me just tell you. I've said this before on this channel. If you want to pay me to give some opinion about your material that I don't like or whatever, or just you want to pay me, you give me hundreds and hundreds of dollars to give you an opinion that is not necessarily my own, but you're buying me off. That's what I thought a shill would be. Let me just say, no one has ever done that. And by the way, from a moral or ethical standpoint, if someone did, I would flat out say before any review of my movie, I'm like, you know what? Kevin Feige himself called me, and he would say, Rob, you know that they made a hot toy of me. There's only one hot toy of me, and I will let you play with it. I'll let you pose it if you speak well of my movies. Even then, I'd say, Kevin, I'm a huge fan of yours. I've been singing your praises for, the better part of a decade now. Online, you can see it, you can find out. But don't just, if you call me up and say I can touch a monkey, like Dieter might, but I would not. Just because you'll let me touch your fucking hot toy, I am not going to be like, oh my God, Kevin Feige is God. And yet, I have said Kevin Feige is my Lord and Savior, or the Lord and Savior of comic book movies. Now, Here's the thing. The man he made 13 films before the MCU. He saw what worked, what didn't work. 2008 brings us Iron Man. He made some bold moves. Robert Downey Jr. cast as Tony Stark. Would anyone hire him to like anchor your franchise? Fuck no. You know who did? Kevin fucking Feige. And here's the thing. Kevin Feige is not the guy. If you look at him, he does not prance around like a peacock. You watch him on the red carpet or whatever. He's like, I'm only as good as my collaborators. I mean, I don't think the most successful producer in Hollywood history needs to be as humble as he is. But do you know why he's humble? Because he's fucking smart and he understands why he is successful. Because he himself hires people and works with people that are good at what they do. You know, Victoria Alonso was let me tell you, you know what one of my favorite things that I saw this month was? Victoria Alonso speaking Spanish to Salma Hayek on the red carpet. I was watching this on the Marvel live feed of the red carpet, the blue carpet event of the Eternals. And I saw Victoria Alonso, who had been elevated. She'd been given a promotion. She controls all the VFX and all that. But she was, I mean, it's Kevin Feige and Mr. Desposito and Victoria Alonso that are his major domos or whatever. The Bib Fortunas, for those of you who don't know. And watching Victoria Alonso speak Spanish with Salma Hayek and how much love there was there. How would Salma Hayek know who Victoria Alonso is? That shows you how great, how I mean, you need a creative team to make these movies. Kevin Feige understands that all of the creative people that are involved in the Marvel Cinematic Universe are working synergistically. There's been no one in Hollywood history who has created that kind of synergy ever. Ever. But you know why he did it? Well, because he's the Lord and Savior of cinematic films. Whatever. Say what you want. You get people like, oh, Rob, you're a Marvel shill. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm a Marvel Comics fan. I've been a Marvel Comics fan my entire life. I have 75 long boxes of comics. I'm not Harlan fucking Ellison. I'm just going to say that I love Marvel Comics. I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And after the Thanos saga, 23 films, Endgame's 22, Spider-Man Far From Home, 23. In Hollywood history, there has never been anything like that before, ever. So what do? 23 movies. I mean, my God, you're gonna go Black Widow. You're gonna go. Even Pete Hammond's like, this is the 25th. I'm like, Pete, it's 26, whatever. But anyway, I'm not gonna hold that against you. You got Black Widow is 24. You know what I mean? You got Shang-Chi, 25. You got Eternals is 26. And we have Spider-Man, No Way Home, which by all accounts is like an endgame blowout of awesomeness. Not going to go in and talk about it. What I do want to talk about is the fact that Kevin Feige could do anything. He could literally pick any single, whatever. But after Taika Waititi's beautiful honorarium to Jack Kirby, that is Thor Ragnarok, right? You think about the fact that Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, the foundational members of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Jack Kirby has not necessarily received his due. Now, first of all, when in Jerry Maguire, you had me at hello. When Renee Zellweger says you had me at hello. In the end credits, the main titles of Marvel movies, until Black Widow, but most of the time they take place at the end of the film. At the end of Eternals, the Eternals created by Jack Kirby, single card credit in the end titles. Even that almost made me want to weep. Now, a lot of people are like, wow, who cares? Well, you know what? You want to talk about representation matters? Comic book writers and artists in the last 15 years, 20 years, believe you me, they're all talking about representation mattering because they created this shit. Marv Wolfman created Blade. Finally recognized. So, let's get to the Eternals movie. Is it good? And I'll just say this, and right now, everyone's like, oh my God, Rob Burnett's a Marvel shill. No one's paid. I don't even get free fucking Hot Toys figures. I get nothing. Nothing. As a matter of fact, I dare say that Disney themselves, for what they did to me and my company on Chronicles of Narnia, shame on you. Shame on you. By the way, where's that Octavia Butler interview we produced? Please give it back to me, Disney. Look into what you guys... Oh, wait, I'll stop. Doesn't matter. We did a really good job and you fucked us. But okay, still love Disney. It's fine. So, I know, it's an aside. People are like, wait, what? Anyway, so what I want to talk about tonight, or now, or whenever, is the Eternals. Now, all bets are off. They've taken away the embargo. I can say what I want. Here's what I will say. I fucking loved the Eternals. I loved it. I loved it. And you know, here's what I think is the problem. And hang on. Let's just delve into a few of the I want to get into some other reviews. Garth Franklin's Dark Horizons. First of all, shout out to Garth Franklin. Love Dark Franklin, or Darth Franklin, Dark Franklin, Garth Franklin. I think that Dark Horizons is it's an aggregate site where what Garth does every day is to find all of the pertinent, I would call it geek information. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, one of my favorite things was there was a newsletter that was sent out on a daily basis by someone named Jack Morrissey. Everyone knows him in Hollywood. Jack Morrissey is a great guy, but he used to send out a geek newsletter, and if you were on it, you know, now we've got like the Ankler and all that, but Jack Morrissey's newsletter was the end all be all. If you weren't on that list, you were not up with the geek news. But Garth Franklin has done kind of the same thing that Jack Morrissey did, so you must go to Dark Horizons. And by the way, I am not a Garth Franklin Dark Horizons shill. I just like his site, and I have no problem talking about how great it is. So anyway, Garth Sunday yesterday put up a Marvel's Eternals reviews are in because the embargo dropped. So so well, hang on. Why is it not? It's all freaking out. Let me just make sure you can see everything. Hang on a second. If you can't, there we go. Okay. So, here's what Garth wrote. The first critics' reviews for Marvel's Eternals are now out, and with 39 reviews counted on Rotten Tomatoes, the film sits at 72% and 6.3 out of 10. That puts it as the third worst of the MCU films to date, behind Iron Man 2, but ahead of both The Incredible Hulk and Thor: The Dark world. The same goes for Metacritic, where it sits at 61 out of 100, on par with The Incredible Hulk and ahead of only the first 2 Thor films and Iron Man 2. More Eternals reviews are expected to come out, so the score will change with time. But at this point, it's likely only by a few digits at most. Reviews are divisive, but even the positive ones seem to have many caveats. Here's a sampling of quotes. Zhao seamlessly uses expert filmmaking skills weaned on a smaller scale to great effect on this huge canvas. Pete Hammond on Deadline. You walk out in the depressing realization that you've just seen one of the more interesting movies Marvel will ever make, and hopefully the least interesting one Chloe Zhao will ever make. Justin Chang, LA Times. With characters and concepts this strong, Zhao's quite right to take her time. Charlotte O'Sullivan, The London Evening Standard. A convoluted cosmic misfire and one of Marvel's dullest efforts in years. Rodrigo Perez, The Playlist. It's constantly engaged in a kind of grit-tooth authenticity theater. Jesus Christ. Authenticity theater. Going out of its way to show you it's doing all the things proper cinema does, even though none of them bring any discernible benefit whatsoever to the film at hand. Yow. Robbie Cullen, The Daily Telegraph. Can't these movies do anything else? Is it too much to ask the most dominant kind of cinema on the planet to shake things up and challenge itself in a more significant way? David Ehrlich, IndieWire. It's not exactly boring. There's always something new to behold, but nor is it particularly exciting, and it lacks the breezy wit of Marvel's best movies. Steve Rose, The Guardian. You know what? Okay. Here's the thing. I would say, in my mind, I loved The Eternals. I loved it. Now, why did I love it? Because anyone who is a comic book reader, and I have been a comic book reader my entire life, I probably spent 30 years going to the comic book store every Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, depending when they change it, and I bought comic books. And one of the great things about the comic book medium is the diversity, and I don't mean like sexuality or gender or color. I mean the diversity of the stories told. And one of the great things about comic books is that, having come of age in the 80s, the great Renaissance. I mean, I remember buying Frank Miller's Ronan, which is an incredibly complex, diverse, crazy Japanese samurai story in a dystopian future world. And I was blown away by it. I'm like, oh my God. Never seen that before. It was amazing. And then as I mean, obviously we got Frank Miller's, again, following up Ronan, The Dark Knight Returns. The 4 prestige format DC graphic novels changed everything. Alan Moore's Watchmen. I mean, the 80s, George Perez's take on Wonder Woman, John Byrne taking over Superman. Or if you go back to like First Comics, Howard Chaykin's. Wait, can I grab it? I can't reach it. Howard Chaykin's American Flag. One of my great comic book. I love the comic book of American Flag. I love it so much. I mean, what we got was incredible diversity in terms of storytelling, all over the place. It was amazing. So now the Marvel Cinematic Universe, everyone has been bitching and moaning. Martin Scorsese is. I don't think that the comic book films, they're like not cinema. Bruh. I know what you're saying. I get it. So you get the GOAT right now, the GOAT carrying the title, the greatest Nomadland. You have Chloe Zhao, who has won Best Director. She's Chinese, and the Chinese fucking hate her because she moved to America. The Chinese are angry with Eternals, even though there are Chinese characters in the film. But oh wait, because we live in a world where, my God, whatever. I won't get into that. I just want to say, I fucking love this movie. Do you know why? Because first, people are like, well, Rob, Eternals is lesser Jack Kirby. It's not the work he's done. It wasn't amazing. Here's the thing. We live in a time of amazing creative power and energy where if you asked me 5 years ago, if somebody would have said, well, Rob, one day they're gonna turn Jack Kirby's Eternals into a feature film. I mean, Jack Kirby's Eternals, what was it, 19 issues and a one annual? Like, this is not something like first of all, even the idea to adapt the Eternals is in itself transcendent. It is unbelievable. I mean, it is. I can't believe they even did it. Now, I'm not saying that means it has to be good, or you just have to love it because it was. I would say this. I would say, do you know what Eternals is that I love? You know what I love about it the most? We now have two. Well, Eternals opens in 2 weeks. We have two adaptations of great, epic science fiction works. We have Denis Villeneuve's Dune, and we have Chloe Zhao's take on Jack Kirby's Eternals. Whether you like them or not, the idea that you have two visionaries who are able to adapt other visionaries' works, seminal works from the 60s and 70s, bring them into the modern age, that alone is worthy of celebration. And am I saying that, well, Rob, should we just celebrate that and whether they're good or bad? No. What we should do is, in this culture, in our world today, the fact that this kind of creativity has been sanctioned and paid for by corporate entities who we should all say fuck off to. It's amazing that this kind of creativity has been bankrolled. Now, you could say that Kevin Feige's earned it, so he rolled the dice. Good for him. But really, none of this matters. None of what I'm saying matters. All that matters is Eternals good? Is it a good movie? Because at the end of the day, isn't that all that matters? If it's good. Is it good? I loved it. No, even I have said that I said, look, the first, I would say Eternals, it's great because you can say it's almost 3 hours long. It's what, 2 hours and 45 minutes, 2 hours and 30, whatever it is. It's a long movie. And when I was first watching it, I felt, here's what, the Eternals took me on an emotional journey that I didn't expect. I'm watching it, I felt very distant from it because I'm trying to figure out, like, as somebody who read the comics, and I'm like, okay, there's the Eternals as written by Kirby in the 70s. Then there's the Eternals miniseries that was done in the 80s. Then there's the 90s Neil Gaiman version. I think it was 90s, maybe early aughts. But so I've seen different creators do this. But so I'm watching this, and I'm, first of all, and this is just the white, straight male in me. I mean, Gemma Chan could possibly be the most beautiful woman on the planet Earth. And listening to her talk or seeing her, my God, wow, just saying. And the fact that she was my entry into this world, I was maybe led down the primrose path, But I loved it. I mean, I grew up reading Chariots of the Gods, Eric Von Däniken, Ancient Astronauts. My God, the 70s were all about pyramid power. So I love the idea, this Ancient Astronauts idea, bringing it in. I loved it. I just, I really did. It just spoke to me personally. And look, here's the thing. I've said this before. You all know who Captain America is. You all know who Iron Man is. The Hulk. I mean, we had a Hulk TV series in the 70s. Everyone knew. Everybody knows who these characters are. No one knows who the Eternals are. So they had to basically take a bunch of very obscure characters and the gigantic ideas that Jack Kirby put forth in not just that, but go back to Machine Man or the 2001 comics that Marvel also published. I mean, who but Jack Kirby would go beyond the movie? You know, Kirby's his cosmology and all this, amazing stuff. And I, for one, was captivated by what I was seeing. Now, what I find, here's what I would say. And by the way, I had a big Hollywood producer call me, Rob. Actually, allow me to let's. I'm not going to say who this person was, but I'm going to. I will read what he told me, what he said, and I don't necessarily disagree with what he says, but I think reading what he had to say about Eternals was in fact interesting. So here we go. Let me read what he's. Hang on, I gotta go back and So this producer in Hollywood, who is a huge genre fan. Oh wait, I need to. I'm trying to find this. I didn't realize we went back and forth about this a lot. So here's what my friend, a producer in Hollywood, said about Eternals. He said, it's an awful movie. It's a terrible script, terrible direction, terrible special effects, terrible pacing, terrible world building, subpar acting, badly cast. Angelina Jolie is sleepwalking through this film. You can tell from her face she can't wait for them to call rap. An embarrassing post-credit scene. The best thing, it was Kumail Nanjiani and his valet. It's an awful movie. I get it. Y'all don't have to like it. I love this film because you know what it does for me as a science fiction literature fan, as somebody who grew up Eric Von Donigan, or look up this trailer. Sun Classic Pictures presents The Outer Space Connection. If you're a kid in the 70s, and by the way, Jack Kirby was a man in the 70s, the idea of ancient astronauts was in the zeitgeist and all this. I thought that the Marvel Cinematic Universe did some amazing shit in The Eternals. Brought up really interesting questions. We talked about this on the last episode of Robservations, the cosmology of it all. What does it all mean? And the idea that, wow, what I loved about this film is how it flew in the face of the world religions, our religions, whether it's biblical, whether it's Quranic, whatever you want to talk about. I mean, this movie flew in the face of much of the world's religions and what we believe in terms of, and it just flat out went against everything, whether it's Confucianism, whatever. And I'm like, wow, that was pretty audacious. Like the cosmology with the Celestials and the Eternals, and when you watch the film, I don't want to spoil anything, but even the Eternals don't really understand. They don't get it. They were lied to. And I love that. I thought it was great. And I felt the film was really compelling. Now, we already know all these characters. I mean, we didn't know these characters. Not only do we not know them, but they introduced these characters and span 7,000 years of history. I mean, I thought that was fucking audacious, and kudos to Chloe Zhao for attempting this. I thought the film was fucking awesome. I loved it. I love the, and I have to say, I don't know if this is a spoiler to say this, but I thought Richard Madden, who is my choice to be the next James Bond. I love Richard Madden. If you've not seen the BBC series Bodyguard, Richard Madden is Icarus, MVP. And I'm not going to say what happens, but there is a poetic bit about his entire journey, and I loved it. I love the whole thing. And what's interesting about this, no, it's not Captain America. No, it's not Thor. No, it's not Iron Man. No, it's not Black Widow. No, it's not The Incredible Hulk. This is not a film that is remotely similar to those films. This is a contemplative modern myth about existence and what does it all mean? Where are we all going? How do we all feel? I thought the fact that Marvel was able to make this movie, kudos to Kevin Feige. I'm not a Marvel shill or a stan. I'm like, look, man, the fact that they got to make this movie, I thought it was pretty incredible. I found it compelling. It was thought-provoking. It was something that I found... is it perfect? No. I don't think it's perfect only because you can't... There's ultimately no ending. The Eternals must continue. And by the way, thank God it says, the Eternals will return. God bless you. Of course they should. Because the cosmology in this film is in itself amazing. Loved it. Loved it. Anyway, this is my non-spoiler. I can only wax rhapsodic so often. I wish I could. I'm not going to get into specifics. I wish I could. All I can say is that, yes, we have a multinational corporation that has a subdivision that is making populist movies. and here, I would say one of the great defiant acts of is Kevin Feige making this movie with Chloe Zhao. I mean, think about that. It's the same way that James Wan, God bless James Wan, makes $1 billion movie in Aquaman, and then he's like, well, James, what are you going to do for the follow-up? He's like, fuck it, I'm going to make Malignant. Fuck yes. So despite all of this corporatization and all this craziness, there are people in the system that are working within the corporatized world we live in and doing awesome shit. Kevin Feige, kudos to you for hiring Chloe Zhao to make Eternals. And for that fucking cosmology, because wow. All I can say is wow. And then, as I digress, Warner Brothers, well, I made $1 billion movie. Well, James Wan, we want to just take a Brinks truck to your house. He's like, yeah, I don't really need that. What I want you to do is I want you to make Malignant with me. Come on. God bless you, James Wan. And God bless you, Kevin Feige. You could have done anything you wanted. You've earned it. But you decided to go with Chloe Zhao and make fucking the Eternals. I would say for that alone, and there's going to be all like, what, you didn't get your sci-fi superhero fix? Well, no, I would say this is a different thing. This is contemplative. This is unique. This will make you think. And by the way, let me just say, there's something that happens at the end of the film where it makes you look up to the stars. I mean, everyone on Earth. It should be the most profoundly transportive moment for anyone that works or lives in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. How are they in it? Once you've seen the end of Eternals, how do you go back? What do you do? I mean, it was amazing. I mean, I'm like, wow, you'll see. A lot of people are like, well, Rob, why do you think that's so important? Well, I think it is. Anyway, let's go back and see where we're at here. Let me just jump in and see. Wow, Willow, our favorite Willow Yang says, Willow. Oh, I know that shooting accidents on film sets are rare, but is there any reason why people don't use fake guns instead of real ones? Do fake guns and effects just not have the same verisimilitude? Well, as you know, I'm the viceroy of verisimilitude. So here's the thing about guns on sets. The reason you use blanks is because you want the effect of what it feels like to fire a gun, see the smoke, see... nowadays, we do have, 9 years ago when I was directing, 10 years ago, when I was directing episodes of Femme Fatales, we had blanks on set. We also had armors and people, like you would show an actor, like, here's the thing, here's the blank or whatever, you put it together. What happened on the set of Rust is anomalous, and it is horrible, and it should never have happened. The fact is that no matter, you have to ask yourself, we've had guns on sets of Hollywood movies for 100 years, and the idea that this kind of accident would happen it's just it's terrifying. It's horrific. And it shouldn't have happened. But that said, the idea of putting blanks in guns has been part of Hollywood history for decades. So the idea that whether we don't know yet whether it was a blank or a live round, I don't think a blank could have done what happened to the people on the set of Rust. And that's a whole different story. I don't want to speak to it because I don't know enough about what happened. But as a film producer myself, this could never happen on any one of my sets, and I would never, safety has to be paramount. I've never heard of this. The fact is, it really comes down to this was a set that there were walkouts during an investigation. I just don't want to say what I think, really. We have to let the investigation run its course. We have to find out all the facts. And I don't want to be somebody that weighs in without knowing everything. As a film producer myself, I would much prefer to hear what the investigators come up with. But this should never have happened. It was fucking terrible. Savage McFilthy says, hi, Rob, how was the action compared to the other films MCU? Did they step it up a notch? Well, I you know what? To be honest, I would say no, they didn't. You basically have characters fighting CG monsters. I don't think they stepped it up a notch. I think they had, in my mind, I would love it if they didn't have deviance at all. They had to put it in to create action scenes. I was far more interested in the idea that the Eternals were created to, their job was to foster and help humanity for a specific reason. And I thought that was interesting. I thought you could do a whole movie and not put the deviance in it, but that's just me. Again, it's not a perfect film, but it was interesting. Jerry Demert sends in a super chat and says, you and John Campea are the best thing since Starlog magazine. Oh my God. Jerry, that's like the nicest thing anyone can say. I subscribed to Starlog with issue 13. Starlog magazine was my youth. My first issue I bought was 6, and actually 7. It was 7, and it had the X-wing, the famous X-wing TIE fighter cover. I think it was 7, yeah. And I had every issue. I mean, I got it every month. It was the only way to get genre news. And for you to say that, that's an amazing thing. Thank you so much for that. Mac Talisker, yes. Damn it! Why are you on at the same time the neurotic Nooner is? Well, I love Gary, but why is he doing a Nooner at 3:45 in the afternoon? I mean, we're on the Pacific Coast. If you're doing a Nooner for the East Coast, he should be off. But thank you for that. And by the way, kudos to Gary. Jeff Yerke, Mr. and Mrs. Y. Hi, Rob. Sorry. So long. No, it's okay, man. My back is mostly better, so I'm working way too much on my graphic design clients' projects. Mrs. Yerke sends her love and hugs, and the cats question the meaning of all of these extended universes. Live long and prosper, the Yerk Man. Well, Jeff Yerke is a longtime member and fan of the Pacific. Well, he's part of the Pacific. Now, you're not really part of the Pacific Northwest because you're still in California. You're in Northern California. The Pacific Northwest really begins at the Oregon border. Let's be honest. But you're a big fan of this channel and the community, and you hurt your back and you're getting better. But by the way, you know the cats see the multiverses. They're way ahead of us. They are. So, anyway. But Jeff, I'm glad you're feeling better. Thank you to your wife. Thank you for the generous tip. I very much appreciate that. But don't think you have to tip me because you've been away for a while. All we need to know is that you're part of the community. By the way, are you a member of the channel? I've never seen. Have you come on a live chat? If you are a member of the Post-Geek Singularity, yes, this weekend we are having one of our live Zoom chats on Saturday afternoon starting at 11. Please join us. James Bonner sends in a super chat and says, placed my voodoo pre-order for Tango Shalom. Well, James, thank you. For those of you who don't know, who might be here for the first time, I did produce a film that I also edited called Tango Shalom. Oh, wait, James, hang on.
I had a dream.
Hashem told you to dance in a tango contest?
A dancing teacher wants to tango with you?
Critics are raving about Tango Shalom. It's clever and inventive, with right chemistry on and off the dance floor.
You're a lunatic!
A funny and thoughtful family film with a warm heart and a playful spirit. From the director of My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Oh, there's my Fernando.
Tango Shalom. In select theaters now. Yeah, but you know what else? You know what else it is? For all of you on this channel, yes, I produced and edited that film. It's a low-budget, indie, Jewish, spiritual, family dance quest comedy because the world needs more of those. If you would go and pre-order it, you can get the DVD. I'm waiting to do the 4K. If you can get the DVD or also order it on VOD, it is available Friday. And if we could get all of you to go to Amazon or whatever and pre-order the film, even if you don't want to see that kind of a movie, help me out, brothers and sisters. My God. Yes, so thank you, James. I appreciate your pre-order for Tango Shalom. That actually does mean a lot. It means a lot for all of us, everyone involved in the film. Sugar Shane sends in a tip. Sugar Shane, thank you. Oh my God. The lovely Emma Bannon sends in a tip. Emma Bannon says, "Hi, Rob. Since Marvel has used such amazing directors as Chloe Zhao and Dune had Denis Villeneuve, what are the chances are Marvel getting Uwe Boll? Or is he just too big and should they go for someone less talented like Scorsese?" Okay, Emma, here's the thing. Emma Bannon is one of the loveliest, most intelligent members of the Post-Geek Singularity, but she also has an affliction. And that affliction is the jokes she tells. And the idea that she thinks Uwe Boll is going to make a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, and she wants us to wonder when and where will he do it. I would say, God damn it, Emma. I hope never. I mean, come on, man. House of the Dead. But you know what? I want to thank you for supporting the channel and supporting me the way you do. I support you 100%, but Uwe Boll, let's just let the chat. I throw it out to you, everyone here live. Would you want Uwe Boll to direct a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie? Would you? Rhett Proctor sends in a super chat and says, well, I watched Dune, and it was amazing. I love the effects and the dialogue. I hope it gets a sequel. Rob, Timothy Chalamet shined in it. Well, Rhett, I agree. I'm a huge fan. I love Dune. It was amazing. Shout out to that Just a Brown girl who took me to see it on the Warner lot. It was amazing to see there. I couldn't go. We had a health, let's call it emergency, over the weekend here at the Burnett Bell household that we had to deal with. It's all worked out in the end, hopefully. The capper is that Zoe Trope, she got a jury summons today. Wow, you know, you can't write this stuff, kids. You just can't. But anyway, yeah, so I'm glad you love Dune. I love Dune. I thought it was amazing. Everyone should see it in IMAX. Go see it when you can. Rhett Proctor goes on to say, I read the Marvel Zombies comics the past few days. Dude, it's so dark and hilarious at the same time. The fact that Spider-Man ate Mary Jane and Aunt May. Sheesh. Robert Kirkman went all out. Well, Rhett, I mean, I do have the Marvel Zombies Omnibus. If you haven't read it, I mean, if you watched What If, you did get a taste of the the Marvel's, is it? Well, I guess Marvel Cinematic. The Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let's call it the What If series. That it's just part of the multiverse. And yes, they went all out. I mean, the Marvel Zombies series was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. It was, yeah, but also it was hardcore. It was fucking hardcore. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad you like the comics. They're pretty good. I mean, I enjoyed them. And Kirkman, yeah, of course, they did a good job. A good job. Yeah, I did. I dug it. That's good stuff. So Andy McCallum sends in a super chat and says Neil Breen could direct a Marvel movie. Well, could he? I think a lot of people could, but could they work within Neil Breen? If you look, he's done a lot of movies himself. He's directed 6 films. I don't know. Maybe he could. I mean, we'll see. I wouldn't say the ratings are in his favor. It's not like the Hunger Games, but maybe. I mean, who's to say he couldn't? Don't know. Alexander Wilson, our favorite Alexander Wilson. Read this story about the Exorcist house. Oh, my God. All I can say is, hang on. Let me just put this in the live chat. I'm already laughing about the headline. Oh, my God. Honey, we bought the Exorcist house. Wow. Okay. There you go. It's in the live chat. I'd live in that house. My God. Amazing. Well, you know what? I think look, I want to be this had to be a quick episode because it's almost an hour. I just wanted to, you know what? I feel I didn't even do a good job reviewing the Eternals. Perhaps not. That's up to you. I've been surprised by the divisive nature of the film. I loved it. I thought it was tremendous. I thought it was different. I thought it was unusual. I couldn't believe it existed. And where it goes, what it tries to do. Laurie Adamson says, "Hi, Rob, heading to Wales this weekend and visiting Port Marion. The village that was the set of one of your favorite shows, The Prisoner, a magical place. My God, Lori. Could you do me a favor and take pictures? Send them to me. I'll put them up. Az and I, Heel versus Babyface, or What Toys on Twitter, are going to start doing our 9-episode review of Squid Game this week. We are the Calamari Bros talking about Squid Game. So thank you for that. I would love to see pictures. I've never been to Port Marion. I've always wanted to go. Amazing. So yeah. That's fantastic. Rhett Proctor goes on to say, I'd like to see Zack Snyder direct Ghost Rider or Daredevil. What do you think Ghost Rider would be better? Though I think he would cast a great actor for Mephisto. Well, Rhett, I mean, look. It's tough. It's a tough call. Like, my whole thing is that, here's the thing about filmmakers. If you look at the great filmmakers, they tend to have underlying themes that they go with, like Coppola, one of my favorite movies, The Godfather. If you look at Godfather, even Apocalypse Now, there's the family on the boat. Then he does Outsiders, he does Rumblefish. Even things like The Rainmaker, which, by the way, I love The Rainmaker. Coppola directed basically a studio programmer that he did a really good job with. Thought it was great. Cardinal Sin says, all hail RMB, hail to the wrenches and the chat. Well, thank you, Cardinal Sin. I appreciate that. Yes, I do have. I will give a shout out to our blue wrenches: Justin Toner, Joshua Levesque, Mr. Derringer, Louise X Sparrow. By the way, she and I'm going to go to London, if for no other reason than to sit at a pub with Louise X Sparrow, drink some pints, and talk about Star Trek, because I think she and I are very much. By the way, if you are a Star Trek fan, there are 2 very significant events happening this week. Tomorrow, Star Trek Coda, Book 2, which is the second book of their trilogy of amazing. It's amazing. Is dropping. That is the end of their 20-year continuity post Dominion War, post Deep Space Nine, Voyager. Amazing stuff. Second book. And also, Star Trek Prodigy drops, the second animated series. The only reason I'm really interested in it is because one of my favorite Star Trek novelists, David Mack, who's also written for Deep Space Nine, is in fact involved. So, very excited. We have a new animated series, which could be good. I don't have any high hopes, but it could be good. Hope springs eternal. And Star Trek Coda, available tomorrow from Amazon. So, Rhett Proctor, I don't know. I mean, I'm happy he has his own universe. Remember, we have his movie about the thief that was in Army of the Dead, and then Army of the Dead. He has an animated series coming out, the Zack Snyder universe, where Netflix is like, yes, sir, it's awesome. So give it up for him. So thank you for that. And Andy McCallum sends in a super chat. Andy, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for supporting the channel in that way. But I would say this. I do not like the divisive reviews of Eternals. I would say see it yourselves. There's a lot of joy and love to be found there. I thought that they did a fantastic job of creating a new cosmology, a new group of characters. It's so wildly ambitious. I love the film. And what can I say? I'm going to end this show doing an hour show. I loved Eternals. I love the cosmology. I love the characters. I love the idea behind it. I love the element of family. I love the idea that there's a huge misdirect in the film. And I love the idea that you might think you know where you are in the universe, but you find out that you don't know. and things are different. And I love that about it. I mean, I found, as a lifelong fan of the idea that we've been visited before, and the cosmology of the idea, I loved it. I loved it. And on that note, I want to say to everyone, every person you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear. And all you have to do is listen. And when you watch The Eternals, I would say, don't listen to what other people say. I mean, everyone's like, my God, think about it. Think about it in terms of a continuity, a continuum of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They took a sidestep, and they added a background. I mean, there's no reason that they should have done this film, but they did it. And ask yourself, how does that cosmology fit in with the other 25 movies before it? You know, and what does it mean? And isn't it cool they did that? And I will tell you this. One of the great things about The Eternals is it will make you think. It'll make you contemplate not just the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but your own life. You know, your own, where you're at, and what world do we live in? And isn't that what we want? Don't we want to think? Don't we want to? I didn't stop thinking about the Eternals for at least a day after I saw it. And Lola Nerd, by the way. Lola Nola. Like, is that New Orleans? Nola Nerd says Eternals comic book by Jack Kirby is amazing and fantastic and beautiful. The characters are great, and I hope the film does them justice. I thought they did, in the course of one movie. I think they did, Nola. And I think you're going to dig it. And on that note, I will end Robservations episode 754. I would ask you this. All of you, go see The Eternals. Feel it, think about it, watch it, contemplate it. If you don't like it, come back and tell me. I loved it. A lot of people, hey, if you don't, well, that's okay. Different strokes for different folks. That's what art is. On that note, I would say, have a better day.